The Lockheed State Route 71 Blackbird is a long-range, Mach 3 plus strategic reconnaissance aircraft that was operated by the United States Air Force. It was developed as a black project from the Lockheed A-12 reconnaissance aircraft in the 1960s by Lockheed and its Skunk Works division. American aerospace engineer Clarence Kelly Johnson was responsible for many of the design's innovative concepts. During aerial reconnaissance missions, the State Route 71 operated at high speeds and altitudes to allow it to outrace threats. If a surface-to-air missile launch were detected, the standard evasive action was simply to accelerate and outfly the missile. The State Route 71 was designed with a reduced radar cross-section. The State Route 71 served with the U.S. Air Force from 1964 to 1998. A total of 32 aircraft were built, 12 were lost in accidents, but none were lost to enemy action. The State Route 71 has been given several nicknames, including Blackbird and Habu. It has held the world record for the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft since 1976. This record was previously held by the related Lockheed YF-12. Development. Background. Lockheed's previous reconnaissance aircraft was the relatively slow U-2, designed for the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. In late 1957, the CIA approached the defense contractor Lockheed to build an undetectable spy plane. The project, named Archangel, was led by Kelly Johnson, head of Lockheed's Skunk Works unit in Burbank, California. The work on Project Archangel began in the second quarter of 1958, with aim of flying higher and faster than the U-2. Of 11 successive designs drafted in a span of 10 months, A-10 was the frontrunner. Despite this, however, its shape made it vulnerable to radar detection. After a meeting with the CIA in March 1959, the design was modified to have a 90% reduction in radar cross-section. The CIA approved a $96 million contract for Skunk Works to build a dozen spy planes, named A-12 on February 11, 1960. The 1960 downing of Francis Gary Powers' Su-2 underscored its vulnerability and the need for faster reconnaissance aircraft such as the A-12. The A-12 first flew at Groom Lake, Area 51, Nevada, on April 25, 1962. 13 were built. 2 variants were also developed, including 3 of the YF-12 Interceptor prototype, and 2 of the M21 drone carrier. The aircraft was meant to be powered by the Pratt & Whitney J58 engine, but development ran over schedule, and it was equipped instead with the less powerful Pratt & Whitney J75 initially. The J58s were retrofitted as they became available, and became the standard power plant for all subsequent aircraft in the series, A-12, YF-12, M21, as well as the State Route 71. The A-12 flew missions over Vietnam and North Korea before its retirement in 1968. The program's cancellation was announced on December 28, 1966, due both to budget concerns and because of the forthcoming State Route 71, a derivative of the A-12. State Route 71. The State Route 71 designation is a continuation of the pre-1962 bomber series. The last aircraft built using the series was the XB-70 Valkyrie. However, a bomber variant of the Blackbird was briefly given the B-71 designator, which was retained when the type was changed to State Route 71. During the later stages of its testing, the B-70 was proposed for a reconnaissance/strike role, with an RS-70 designation. When the A-12 performance potential clearly was found to be much greater, the Air Force ordered a variant of the A-12 in December 1962. Originally named R-12 by Lockheed, the Air Force version was longer and heavier than the A-12, with a longer fuselage to hold more fuel, 2 seats in the cockpit, and reshaped chins. Reconnaissance equipment included signals intelligence sensors, a side-looking airborne radar, and a photo camera. The CIA's A-12 was a better photo reconnaissance platform than the Air Force's R-12, since the A-12 flew somewhat higher and faster, and with only one pilot, it had room to carry a superior camera and more instruments. During the 1964 campaign, Republican presidential nominee Barry Goldwater repeatedly criticized President Lyndon B. Johnson and his administration for falling behind the Soviet Union in developing new weapons. Johnson decided to counter this criticism by revealing the existence of the Lockheed YF-12A Air Force Interceptor, which also served as cover for the still-secret A-12, and the Air Force reconnaissance model since July 1964. Air Force Chief of Staff General Curtis LeMay preferred the SR, Strategic Reconnaissance, designation and wanted the RS-71 to be named State Route 71. Before the July speech, LeMay lobbied to modify Johnson's speech to read State Route 71 instead of RS-71. The media transcript given to the press at the time still had the earlier RS-71 designation in places, creating the story that the president had misread the aircraft's designation. In 1968, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara canceled the F-12 Interceptor program, the specialized tooling used to manufacture both the YF-12 and the State Route 71 was also ordered destroyed. Production of the State Route 71 totaled 32 aircraft with 29 SR-71s, 2 SR-71Bs, and the single SR-71C. Design Overview. The State Route 71 was designed for flight at over Mach 3 with a flight crew of 2 in tandem cockpits, with the pilot in the forward cockpit and the reconnaissance systems officer operating the surveillance systems and equipment from the rear cockpit, and directing navigation on the mission flight path. The State Route 71 was designed to minimize its radar cross-section, an early attempt at stealth design. Finished aircraft were painted a dark blue, almost black, to increase the emission of internal heat and to act as camouflage against the night sky. The dark color led to the aircraft's nickname Blackbird. While the State Route 71 carried radar countermeasures to evade interception efforts, its greatest protection was its combination of high altitude and very high speed, which made it almost invulnerable. Along with its low radar cross-section, these qualities gave a very short time for an enemy surface-to-air missile, SAM, sight to acquire and track the aircraft on radar. By the time the SAM site could track the State Route 71, it was often too late to launch a SAM, and the State Route 71 would be out of range before the SAM could catch up to it. If the SAM site could track the State Route 71 and fire a SAM in time, the SAM would expend nearly all of the delta V of its boost and sustainer phases just reaching the SR-71's altitude. At this point, out of thrust, it would go ballistic. Merely accelerating would typically be enough for an State Route 71 to evade a SAM. Changes by the pilots in the SR-71's speed, altitude, and heading were also often enough to spoil any radar lock on the plane by SAM sites or enemy fighters. At sustained speeds of more than Mach 3.2, the plane was faster than the Soviet Union's fastest interceptor, the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-25, which also could not reach the SR-71's altitude. During its service life, no State Route 71 was shot down. Airframe, canopy, and landing gear. On most aircraft, use of titanium was limited by the costs involved. It was generally used only in components exposed to the highest temperatures, such as exhaust fairings and the leading edges of wings. On the State Route 71, titanium was used for 85% of the structure, with much of the rest polymer composite materials. To control costs, Lockheed used a more easily worked titanium alloy which softened at a lower temperature. The challenges posed led Lockheed to develop new fabrication methods, which have since been used in the manufacture of other aircraft. Lockheed found that washing welded titanium requires distilled water, as the chlorine present in tap water is corrosive. Cadmium-plated tools could not be used, as they also caused corrosion. Metallurgical contamination was another problem. At one point, 80% of the delivered titanium for manufacture was rejected on these grounds. The high temperatures generated in flight required special design and operating techniques. Major portions of the skin of the inboard wings were corrugated, not smooth. Aerodynamicists initially opposed the concept, disparagingly referring to the aircraft as a Mach 3 variant of the 1920s-era Ford Trimitar, known for its corrugated aluminum skin. The heat would have caused a smooth skin to split or curl, whereas the corrugated skin could expand vertically and horizontally and increase longitudinal strength. Fuselage panels were manufactured to fit only loosely on the ground. Proper alignment was achieved as the airframe heated up and expanded several inches. Because of this, and the lack of a fuel sealing system that could handle the airframe's expansion at extreme temperatures, the aircraft leaked JP-7 fuel on the ground prior to takeoff. The outer windscreen of the cockpit was made of quartz and was fused ultrasonically to the titanium frame. The temperature of the exterior of the windscreen reached 600 degrees Fahrenheit, 316 degrees Celsius, during a mission. Cooling was carried out by cycling fuel behind the titanium surfaces in the chins. On landing, the canopy temperature was over 300 degrees Celsius, 572 degrees Fahrenheit. The red stripes featured on some SR-71s were to prevent maintenance workers from damaging the skin. Near the center of the fuselage, the curved skin was thin and delicate, with no support from the structural ribs, which were spaced several feet apart. The Blackbird's tires, manufactured by B.F. Goodrich, contained aluminum and were filled with nitrogen. They cost $2,300 and would generally require replacing within 20 missions. The Blackbird landed at over 170 knots and deployed a drag parachute to stop. The chute also acted to reduce stress on the tires. Acquisition of titanium. Titanium was in short supply in the United States, so the Skunk Works team was forced to look elsewhere for the metal. Much of the needed material came from the Soviet Union. Colonel Rich Graham, State Route 71 pilot, described the acquisition process. The airplane is 92% titanium inside and out. Back when they were building the airplane, the United States didn't have the ore supplies, an ore called rutile ore. It's a very sandy soil and it's only found in very few parts of the world. The major supplier of the ore was the USSR. Working through third world countries and bogus operations, they were able to get the rutile ore shipped to the United States to build the SR-71. Shape and threat avoidance. The first operational aircraft designed around a stealth aircraft shape and materials, the State Route 71 had several features designed to reduce its radar signature. The State Route 71 had a radar cross-section, RCS, around 10 square meters. Drawing on early studies in radar stealth technology, which indicated that a shape with flattened, tapering sides would reflect most energy away from a radar beam's place of origin, engineers added chins and canted the vertical control surfaces inward. Special radar-absorbing materials were incorporated into sawtooth-shaped sections of the aircraft's skin. Cesium-based fuel additives were used to somewhat reduce exhaust plumes' visibility to radar, although exhaust streams remained quite apparent. Kelly Johnson later conceded that Soviet radar technology advanced faster than the stealth technology employed against it. The State Route 71 featured chins, a pair of sharp edges leading aft from either side of the nose along the fuselage. These were not a feature on the early A3 design. Frank Rogers, a doctor at the Scientific Engineering Institute, a CIA front organization, discovered that a cross-section of a sphere had a greatly reduced radar reflection, and adapted a cylindrical-shaped fuselage by stretching out the sides of the fuselage. After the advisory panel provisionally selected Convair's fish design over the A3 on the basis of RCS, Lockheed adopted chins for its A4 through A6 designs. Aerodynamicists discovered that the chins generated powerful vortices and created additional lift, leading to unexpected aerodynamic performance improvements. The angle of incidence of the delta wings could be reduced for greater stability and less drag at high speeds, and more weight carried, such as fuel. Landing speeds were also reduced, as the chin's vortices created turbulent flow over the wings at high angles of attack, making it harder to stall. The chins also acted like leading-edge extensions, which increased the agility of fighters such as the F-5, F-16, F/A-18, MiG-29, and Su-27. The addition of chins also allowed the removal of the planned Canard 4 planes. Air inlets. The air inlets allowed the State Route 71 to cruise at over Mach 3.2, while keeping airflow into the engines at the initial subsonic speeds. Mach 3.2 was the design point for the aircraft, its most efficient speed. At the front of each inlet, a pointed, movable cone called a spike, inlet cone, was locked in its full forward position on the ground and during subsonic flight. When the aircraft accelerated past Mach 1.6, an internal jack screw moved the spike up to 26 inches, 66 centimeters, inwards, directed by an analog air inlet computer that took into account pitot-static system, pitch, roll, yaw, and angle of attack. Moving the spike tip drew the shock wave riding on it closer to the inlet cowling until it touched just slightly inside the cowling lip. This position reflected the spike shock wave repeatedly between the spike center body and the inlet inner cowl sides, and minimized airflow spillage, which is the cause of spillage drag. The air slowed supersonically with a final plane shock wave at entry to the subsonic diffuser. Downstream of this normal shock, the air is subsonic. It decelerates further in the divergent duct to give the required speed at entry to the compressor. Capture of the plane's shock wave within the inlet is called starting the inlet. Bleed tubes and bypass doors were designed into the inlet and engine nacelles to handle some of this pressure and to position the final shock to allow the inlet to remain started. The State Route 71 was sometimes more efficient at speeds higher than Mach 3.2 in terms of pounds of fuel burned per nautical mile traveled, depending on outside air temperature. During one mission, State Route 71 pilot Brian Schule flew faster than usual to avoid multiple interception attempts. Afterwards, it was discovered that this had reduced fuel consumption. In the early years of operation, the analog computers would not always keep up with rapidly changing flight environmental inputs. If internal pressures became too great and the spike was incorrectly positioned, the shock wave would suddenly blow out the front of the inlet, called an inlet unstart. During unstarts, afterburner extinctions were common. The remaining engine's asymmetrical thrust would cause the aircraft to yaw violently to one side. SAS, autopilot, and manual control inputs would fight the yawing, but often the extreme off angle would reduce airflow in the opposite engine and stimulate sympathetic stalls. This generated a rapid counter-yawing, often coupled with loud banging noises, and a rough ride during which crews' helmets would sometimes strike their cockpit canopies. One response to a single unstart was unstarting both inlets to prevent yawing, then restarting them both. Lockheed later installed an electronic control to detect unstart conditions and perform this reset action without pilot intervention. Beginning in 1980, the analog inlet control system was replaced by a digital system, which reduced unstart instances. Engines. The State Route 71 was powered by two Pratt & Whitney J58, company designation JT11D20, axial flow turbojet engines. The J58 was a considerable innovation of the era, capable of producing a static thrust of 32,500 lbf, 145 knots. The engine was most efficient around Mach 3.2, the Blackbird's typical cruising speed. At lower speeds, the turbojet provided most of the compression. At higher speeds, the engine largely ceased to provide thrust, the afterburner taking its place. Air was initially compressed, and heated, by the inlet spike and subsequent converging duct between the center body and inlet cowl. The shock waves generated slowed the air to subsonic speeds relative to the engine. The air then entered the engine compressor. Some of this compressor flow, 20% at cruise, was removed after the fourth compressor stage and went straight to the afterburner through 6 bypass tubes. Air passing through the turbojet was compressed further by the remaining 5 compressor stages and then fuel was added in the combustion chamber. After passing through the turbine, the exhaust, together with the compressor bleed air, entered the afterburner. At around Mach 3, the temperature rise from the intake compression, added to the engine compressor temperature rise, reduced the allowable fuel flow because the turbine temperature limit did not change. The rotating machinery produced less power, but still enough to run at 100% RPM, thus keeping the airflow through the intake constant. The rotating machinery had become a drag item and the engine thrust at high speeds came from the afterburner temperature rise. Maximum flight speed was limited by the temperature of the air entering the engine compressor, which was not certified for temperatures above 800 degrees Fahrenheit, 427 degrees Celsius. Originally, the Blackbird's J58 engines were started with the assistance of two Buick Wildcat V8 internal combustion engines, externally mounted on a vehicle referred to as an AG330 start cart. The start cart was positioned underneath the J58 and the two Buick engines powered a single, vertical drive shaft connecting to the J58 engine and spinning it to above 3,200 revolutions per minute, at which point the turbojet could self-sustain. Once the first J58 engine was started, the cart was repositioned to the other side of the aircraft to start the other J58 engine. Later start carts used Chevrolet big block V8 engines. Eventually, a quieter, pneumatic start system was developed for use at main operating bases. The V8 start carts remained at diversion landing sites not equipped with the pneumatic system. Fuel. Several exotic fuels were investigated for the Blackbird. Development began on a coal slurry power plant, but Johnson determined that the coal particles damaged important engine components. Research was conducted on a liquid hydrogen power plant, but the tanks for storing cryogenic hydrogen were not of a suitable size or shape. In practice, the Blackbird would burn somewhat conventional JP7, which was difficult to light. To start the engines, triethylborane, TEB, which ignites on contact with air, was injected to produce temperatures high enough to ignite the JP7. The TEB produced a characteristic green flame, which could often be seen during engine ignition. On a typical State Route 71 mission, the plane took off with only a partial fuel load to reduce stress on the brakes and tires during takeoff and also ensure the plane could still successfully take off should one engine fail. As a result, planes were typically refueled immediately after takeoff. The State Route 71 also required in-flight refueling to replenish fuel during long-duration missions. Supersonic flights generally lasted no more than 90 minutes before the pilot had to find a tanker. Specialized KC-135Q tankers were required to refuel the State Route 71. The KC-135Q had a modified high-speed boom, which would allow refueling of the Blackbird at nearly the tanker's maximum airspeed with minimum flutter. The tanker also had special fuel systems for moving JP4, for the KC-135Q itself, and JP7, for the State Route 71, between different tanks. As an aid to the pilot when refueling, the cockpit was fitted with a peripheral vision horizon display. This unusual instrument displayed a barely visible artificial horizon, which gave the pilot subliminal cues on aircraft attitude. Astro-inertial navigation system. Nortronics, Northrop Corporation's Electronics Development Division, had developed an astro-inertial guidance system, ANS, which could correct inertial navigation system errors with celestial observations, for the SM-62 Snark missile, and a separate system for the ill-fated AGM-48 Skybolt missile, the latter of which was adapted for the State Route 71. Before takeoff, a primary alignment brought the ANS's inertial components to a high degree of accuracy. In flight, the ANS, which sat behind the Reconnaissance Systems Officers, RSO's, position, tracked stars through a circular quartz glass window on the upper fuselage. Its blue light source star tracker, which could see stars during both day and night, would continuously track a variety of stars as the aircraft's changing position brought them into view. The system's digital computer ephemeris contained data on 56, later 61, stars. The ANS could supply altitude and position to flight controls and other systems, including the mission data recorder, automatic navigation steering to preset destination points, automatic pointing and control of cameras and sensors, and optical or SLR sighting of fixed points loaded into the ANS before takeoff. According to Richard Graham, a former State Route 71 pilot, the navigation system was good enough to limit drift to 1,000 feet off the direction of travel at Mach 3. Sensors and payloads. The State Route 71 originally included optical/infrared imagery systems, side-looking airborne radar, SLAR, electronic intelligence, ELINT, gathering systems, defensive systems for countering missile and airborne fighters, and recorders for SLAR, ELINT, and maintenance data. The State Route 71 carried a Fairchild tracking camera and an HRB Singer infrared camera, both of which ran during the entire mission. As the State Route 71 had a second cockpit behind the pilot for the RSO, it could not carry the A-12's principal sensor, a single large focal-length optical camera that sat in the Q bay behind the A-12's single cockpit. Instead, the SR-71's camera systems could be located either in the fuselage chins or the removable nose/chine section. Wide-area imaging was provided by two of ITEC's operational objective cameras, which provided stereo imagery across the width of the flight track, or an ITEC optical bar camera, which gave continuous horizon-to-horizon coverage. A closer view of the target area was given by the HICON Technical Objective Camera, TOC, that could be directed up to 45 degrees left or right of the center line. Initially, the TOCs could not match the resolution of the A-12's larger camera, but rapid improvements in both the camera and film improved this performance. SLAR, built by Goodyear Aerospace, could be carried in the removable nose. In later life, the radar was replaced by Loral's Advanced Synthetic Aperture Radar System, ASARS-1. Both the first SLAR and ASARS-1 were ground mapping imaging systems, collecting data either in fixed swaths left or right of center line or from a spot location for higher resolution. Elant gathering systems, called the Electromagnetic Reconnaissance System, built by AIL, could be carried in the chine base to analyze electronic signal fields being passed through, and were programmed to identify items of interest. Over its operational life, the Blackbird carried various electronic countermeasures, ECMs, including warning and active electronic systems built by several ECM companies and called Systems A, A2, A2C, B, C, C2, E, G, H, and M. On a given mission, an aircraft carried several of these frequency/purpose payloads to meet the expected threats. Major Jerry Crew, an RSO, told Air and Space/Smithsonian that he used a jammer to try to confuse surface-to-air missile sites as their crews tracked his airplane, but once his threat warning receiver told him a missile had been launched, he switched off the jammer to prevent the missile from homing in on its signal. After landing, information from the SLAR, Elant gathering systems, and the maintenance data recorder were subjected to post-flight ground analysis. In the later years of its operational life, a data link system could send ASARS-1 and Elant data from about 2,000 nmi, 3,700 kilometers, of track coverage to a suitably equipped ground station. Life support. Flying at 80,000 feet, 24,000 m, meant that crews could not use standard masks, which could not provide enough oxygen above 43,000 feet, 13,000 m. Specialized protective pressurized suits were produced for crew members by the David Clark Company for the A-12, YF-12, M-21, and State Route 71. Furthermore, an emergency ejection at Mach 3.2 would subject crews to temperatures of about 450 degrees Fahrenheit, 230 degrees Celsius. Thus, during a high-altitude ejection scenario, an onboard oxygen supply would keep the suit pressurized during the descent. The cockpit could be pressurized to an altitude of 10,000 or 26,000 feet, 3,000 or 7,900 m, during flight. The cabin needed a heavy-duty cooling system, for cruising at Mach 3.2 would heat the aircraft's external surface well beyond 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 degrees Celsius, and the inside of the windshield to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, 120 degrees Celsius. An air conditioner used a heat exchanger to dump heat from the cockpit into the fuel prior to combustion. The same air conditioning system was also used to keep the front, nose, landing gear bay cool, thereby eliminating the need for the special aluminum-impregnated tires similar to those used on the main landing gear. Blackbird pilots and RSOs were provided with food and drink for the long reconnaissance flights. Water bottles had long straws which crew members guided into an opening in the helmet by looking in a mirror. Food was contained in sealed containers similar to toothpaste tubes which delivered food to the crew member's mouth through the helmet opening. Operational history. Main era. The first flight of an State Route 71 took place on December 22, 1964, at Air Force Plant 42 in Palmdale, California. The state Route 71 reached a top speed of Mach 3.4 during flight testing, with pilot Major Brian Schul reporting a speed of Mach 3.5 on an operational sortie while evading a missile over Libya. The first state Route 71 to enter service was delivered to the 4,200th, later, 9th, Strategic Reconnaissance Wing at Bale Air Force Base, California, in January 1966. SR-71S first arrived at the 9th SRW's operating location, OL-8, at Kadena Air Base, Okinawa on March 8, 1968. These deployments were code-named Glowing Heat, while the program as a whole was code-named Senior Crown. Reconnaissance missions over North Vietnam were code-named Giant Scale. On March 21, 1968, Major, later General, Jerome F. O'Malley and Major Edward D. Payne flew the first operational State Route 71 sortie in State Route 71 serial number 61 to 7976 from Kadena AFB, Okinawa. During its career, this aircraft, 976, accumulated 2,981 flying hours and flew 942 total sorties, more than any other State Route 71, including 257 operational missions, from Bale AFB, Palmdale, California, Kadena Air Base, Okinawa, Japan, and RAF Mildenhall, UK. The aircraft was flown to the National Museum of the United States Air Force near Dayton, Ohio in March 1990. The Air Force could fly each State Route 71, on average, once per week, because of the extended turnaround required after mission recovery. Very often an aircraft would return with rivets missing, delaminate panels or other broken parts such as inlets requiring repair or replacement. There were cases of the aircraft not being ready to fly again for a month due to the repairs needed. Rob Vermeulen, Lockheed Martin's manager of Advanced Development Program, said in an interview in 2015 that high-tempo operations were not realistic for the State Route 71. If we had one sitting in the hangar here and the crew chief was told there was a mission planned right now, then 19 hours later it would be safely ready to take off. From the beginning of the Blackbird's reconnaissance missions over enemy territory, North Vietnam, Laos, etc., in 1968, the SR-71S averaged approximately one sortie a week for nearly 2 years. By 1970, the SR-71S were averaging 2 sorties per week, and by 1972, they were flying nearly one sortie every day. 2 SR-71S were lost during these missions, one in 1970 and the second aircraft in 1972, both due to mechanical malfunctions. Over the course of its reconnaissance missions during the Vietnam War, the North Vietnamese fired approximately 800 SAMs at SR-71S, none of which managed to score a hit. While deployed at Okinawa, the SR-71S and their aircrew members gained the nickname Habu, as did the A-12S preceding them, after a Pit Viper indigenous to Japan, which the Okinawans thought the plane resembled. Operational highlights for the entire Blackbird family, YF-12, A-12, and State Route 71, as of about 1990 included 3,551 mission sorties flown, 17,300 total sorties flown, 11,008 mission flight hours, 53,490 total flight hours, 2,752 hours Mach 3 time, missions. 11,675 hours Mach 3 time, total. Only one crew member, Jim Zwayer, a Lockheed Flight Test Reconnaissance and Navigation Systems Specialist, was killed in a flight accident. The rest of the crew members ejected safely or evacuated their aircraft on the ground. European flights. European operations were from Mildenhall, England. There were 2 routes, one along the Norwegian west coast and up the Kola Peninsula, which contained several large naval bases belonging to the Soviet Navy's Northern Fleet. Over the years, there were several emergency landings in Norway, 4 in Bod and 2 of them in 1981, flying from Bale, and 1985. Rescue parties were sent in to repair the planes before leaving. On one occasion, one complete wing with engine was replaced as the easiest way to get the plane airborne again. The other route was from Mildenhall over the Baltic Sea, also called the Baltic Express. Swedish Air Force fighter pilots, using the predictable patterns of State Route 71 routine flights over the Baltic Sea, managed to lock their radar on State Route 71 on numerous occasions. Despite heavy jamming from the State Route 71, target illumination was maintained by feeding target location from ground-based radars to the fire control compute.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.